Mr. Levy, this is Mr. Sadeghi. They are lobbyists. Watch them.
Levy and Sadeghi are lobbyists for George Bush.
Levy and Sadeghi are lobbyists. Watch them.
Levy and Sadeghi are the lobbyists. Watch them.
Levy and Sadeghi are the lobbyists. Watch them.
The Lobbyist. Saturday night after NOFA.
Politiek voor gevarderden. Campaignen voor Bush. De lobbyisten.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Lobbyists. It's badly needed because...
De hele Nederlandse media is tegen Bush. Het is echt één groot links bolwerk dat geen ruimte overlaat om de ideeën, om de idealen van die man en zijn administratie.
Old preconceptions versus the new challenges of the 21st century.
Dat Bush een aap is en dom of autistisch, dat vind ik te eenvoudig. Daar ga ik ook niet voor.
It took only 537 votes for Bush to become president.
Ik weet wat ik met Bush in huis haal. Dat weet ik gewoon.
With 30,000 U.S. citizens in Holland, the next election could be decided in Holland.
Er is één iemand die heeft bewezen dat hij die veiligheid belangrijk vindt. Wereldwijd.
It's not easy to take the side of George W. Bush, but the promise of a peaceful world where dictators are being locked away and democracies flourish persuaded Levy and Sadeghi to join the Republican campaign. They travel the world to promote their candidate.
Together for more years.
Let me prepare the hamburgers and the French fries.
Together we'll do better.
In their endeavor, they encounter resistance, but the fight for a secure world has just started.
You see the color of my skin? Yes. You see that name? Yes. The two don't match.
The United States supported Osama bin Laden when he was fighting the Russians in Afghanistan. He was our friend.
Good.
Okay? And now look what happened. He's turned against us.
The lobbyists have a hotline to their coach, Mr. Ryan King, director of the Republicans Abroad in Washington, D.C.
What should we say, you know? When they tell us, well, it was the U.S. government.
You created Osama bin Laden. Well, that kind of argument.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that all the time, but I mean, at the time, Afghanistan was engaged in a war with the Soviet Union, and at that time, in the 80s, during the Cold War, the Russians presented a much greater threat.
Yes,
much greater threat.
The Taliban were only, you know, killing their own people.
They were killing their own people. They had stockpiles of nuclear weapons that could have blown the earth up 100 times over.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that was then.
And then maybe if you would have to do it again, you would do it again if it's necessary. Sometimes, you know.
Sometimes you have to.
This is politics.
Mr. King advises the lobbyists to go challenge their direct rivals, Democrats abroad.
With him from the United States, we can do it better.
And we need you. You're all bright people.
Please.
But you have to use your influence and your intelligence.
Yeah, but who is George Bush to say what's the best for Iraq, what's the best for North Korea, what's the best for Iran, what's the best for other countries in the world? It's up to those countries.
We all knew what was happening in Afghanistan. We all knew the situation of women's rights. And there was President Bush, he said, well, we're going to change it. We're going to fight the Taliban and we're going to kick them out.
It doesn't work.
You have to be courageous and to say, I'm going to change it, I'm going to try. And
besides winning the soul of the individual U.S. citizen, the second most important task is to educate Dutch politicians on democracy and freedom.
If President Bush decides to free Iran or to free Syria, because the people there are, you know, being under-pressed, and there are maybe weapons of mass destruction, maybe they help terrorists, would you support the United States?
No.
You wouldn't?
No. While W. Bush couldn't count on the support of W. Boss, he praises Balkenende before the whole world for his steadfastness.
Again, my opponent takes a different approach. In the midst of war, he has called American allies, quote, a coalition of the coerced and the bribed. That would be nations like Great Britain, Poland, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands. Allies that deserve the respect of all Americans, not the scorn of a politician.
positive atmosphere for the president. It's Bush or terror.
It's a sticker, huh?
Yeah.
Live at the Republican National Convention here at Madison Square Garden. You guys are passing around these things that says Bush or terror. What the hell does that mean?
Well, the thing is, you know, we gave it a long thought, and it was very freeing, you know, to decide that it was Bush that we were going to lobby for.
Oh, so you're going to lobby for Bush?
Yes.
Why?
He's an honest guy. And
it's obvious you don't live here.
And you know what? No,
They are
well,
cynical.
Listen, we were supporting him, and see what we got. You know, Holland is a very small country, and now Jaap de Hoop Scheffer, he's now become the head of the NATO. So we got something in return from the what we gave.
I was a Republican until 4 years ago. So
what happened?
What happened? We invaded Iraq for no goddamn reason. I was like, why? Why did you invade Iraq? I'm with you in Afghanistan. I was with you in the Gulf War. And then the tax cuts. Yeah, I was with you when Reagan cut taxes. How much are you going to cut these damn things?
You know, sometimes people don't understand, you know, the reasons and the backgrounds of the actions of Mr. Bush. So he has to tell them, you know, it's about weapon of mass destruction, you know, and then that kind of...
Just a lie a little bit.
Yeah. No. Because people, they don't understand it. So, but do you have a car? Do you have a car, my man?
My man, I do
have
a car.
How about you?
I have a car.
How about you? You all have a car.
We pretty much all
It's
have
America.
Big cars.
Yeah, we're American.
It's a big country.
We love our cars.
Yeah. So you need oil.
We need oil.
And where are we going to get it?
Iran.
Alaska? No.
Alaska.
The liberals don't want to drill in Alaska. If we don't want to, you know, invade Alaska, we had to invade Iraq, right? All right, thanks, guys, for joining us. We appreciate it.
The lobbyists?
Yes.
Lobbying at the convention is easy, but their next nut is hard to crack. Noam Chomsky, professor at MIT in Boston and a leading world scholar in linguistics, just happens to be left-orientated.
We would like to know the reasons and the ideas of our opponents. That's the best way to understand yourself, maybe, if you understand your opponent. That's why we are here.
See, the fact that you're going to people regarded as on the left tells us something about you, not about positions. You don't want to go, you don't want to discuss mainstream criticism, because that won't serve whatever agenda you're pursuing. But if you're interested in sharp criticisms of the Bush administration, it's not very hard. In fact, take the current issue of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, an article by a very centrist strategic analyst, highly respected, John Steinbrenner, who describes the policies that the Bush administration is pursuing as leading to what he calls ultimate doom.
Do you see any positive effects of the Bush administration?
Well, you can't find anything in the world that didn't have positive effects. You can even find positive effects for the worst mass murderers in history, like Hitler and Stalin. Sure, there were positive effects. Why do you think there were so many Dutch collaborators with the Germans during the Second World War?
Fruitful discussion.
Everyone in power, in whatever society you like, including the worst mass murderers, believes that they're doing things for the benefit of the world.
Don't you think it's a good thing that democratically chosen governments like our government, they refuse to listen to the talk of the day?
It's not the talk of the day, it's the will of the people.
You know, it's like a mass hysteria. Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria is support for the war. That's mass hysteria. Like in the United States, the country was split. And about half fully believed the most outlandish concoctions of government propaganda. In fact, many still do. What's unique is that this is the first time in history there wasn't mass hysteria. In fact, it's the first time in history, in European or American history, that there was mass popular protest against a war before it was even launched.
And we call it a different type of mass hysteria.
Call it what you like, but the normal form of mass hysteria is flag waving, support for your leaders, belief in propaganda, and so on. But
Well. This may be just a bridge too far for our lobbyists at this moment in time, but I forgive them. They're just starting out. Let's give them a warm bath of true patriotism and compassionate conservatism.
How America responds to the continuing danger of terrorism. And you know where I stand.
still there? For the latest facts, here's your guide, Maurice de Hond.
Ik ben Maurice de Hond en ik ben opiniepeiler. Op dit moment wil ongeveer 70% van de Nederlanders dat Kerry op 2 november wint en slechts 15% dat Bush gaat winnen. Voor het programma De Lobbyisten ga ik vaststellen wat het effect van hun is op de Nederlandse voorkeur. Ik ben Maurice de Hond en voor het programma De Lobbyisten volg ik hoe de Nederlanders denken over Bush en Kerry. Na het programma van de vorige week bleek dat er niemand positiever is gaan denken over Bush, maar dat 16% wel positiever is gaan denken over Kerry. Dat betekent dat er veel werk te doen is voor de lobbyisten, zowel vandaag als in de komende 4 programma's.
Ah, don't you trust those polls? Fasten your seatbelts. Let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Lobbyists. Dutch cowboys fighting for a just cause, the re-election of George W. Bush.
Would you like to have the t-shirt?
You want to know what the real problem is? Allow me to take you to the streets of some European countries for the opinions of ordinary people.
Never. No, why not?
Because Bush is a terrorist.
No.
You know what?
Yeah.
I am really proud to be a German.
Yeah.
We did not go to Iraq.
No.
He's a terrorist. He's the worst man of this world.
It's Bush or terror?
You will never convince me about George W. Bush. Never, ever. I'd rather die.
So that's the problem. The public's mind is poisoned and twisted. By whom? Well, this may come as no surprise.
Y'all want Bush to have another 4 years?
Yeah!
Hell no!
Why not?
Because he sucks. He only wants war.
No.
Yes.
Let's meet some of the politicians who are responsible for spreading those subversive ideas.
And he is supporting the whole war machine, and his war politics will not end in Iraq. They will go on. They will go on to Iran, to Syria, to North Korea, and other parts of the world. That's the debate he is trying to follow in the United States, and he is making us an accomplice. And therefore, we should get out of Iraq, and we should not support this president.
You think he's honest?
No. No, I don't think he's honest. I don't trust him.
There's no Bush and boss.
No?
No.
There must be something...
But I try to understand people I don't agree with. That's basically what I do. I have no warm feelings here. No?
Do these so-called leaders realize what they are doing? Karsten Vogt is a most important German who's supposed to improve U.S.-German relations, or what's left of them.
But interesting enough, when you see opinion polls, we see that Germans are not suffering from the lack of influence in the world. When you see public opinion polls, you will see that even Brits, in their relationship with the Americans, are more eager to exert influence than the Germans, the French anyhow. And in the German case, it's, insofar as public opinion is concerned, it's less the desire to exert influence for the sake of influence or because of national prestige. It's much more whether we are on the right side or they are on the right side. So this tendency to try to be on the right side is what sometimes and mostly is uniting the United States and Germany. But if we are on different sides, like during the Iraq War, you have always the danger that this conflict is becoming like a type of religious war, where both sides are defending, fighting for something which is good, only that they don't agree on what is good.
You see, he talks about war and smiles at the same time. Is that our future? Lucky for us, we have Defense Secretary Rumsfeld, who saw the true intentions of those Germans.
You're thinking of Europe as Germany and France. I don't. I think that's old Europe. If you look at the entire NATO Europe today, the center of gravity is shifting to the east.
There was a distinction made between what was called old Europe, who were the bad guys, and new Europe, who were the good guys, the hope of the future, the hope for democracy. It was a very sharp criterion. Old Europe, the bad guys, were the countries where the government took roughly the same position as the overwhelming majority of the population. New Europe, the wonderful guys, are the governments that decided to overrule often even larger majorities of the population. So Berlusconi, Aznar, that's New Europe, the hope of the future. That reveals a hatred and contempt for democracy that is quite extraordinary. In fact, I can't really think of historical analogs to it. But as to why this happened, well, you figure it out in your own country, I suppose.
To figure out how to answer Mr. Chomsky, the ideological leader of the leftish European leaders, we visit the former campaign strategist of the Nixon and Reagan administrations, Mr. Nofziger.
So much of old Europe is socialist. And we, of course, are capitalist. And I think that there is they have some problem with us because of our economic and political system.
Politically, the United States has become the only military superpower after the collapse of communism, and that as such is okay.
And that's okay, that's good.
But it has led to a situation of too much power there, military power, but not sufficient amount of respect and reputation in the world.
I think sometimes that the European nations resent our size, our wealth, our dominance, if you will, in so many areas of the world. And because they are smaller, less wealthy, less powerful, and at the same time they know that we're not going to do anything about it, so they figure that it's all right for them to come kick us in the shins because we're not going to kick them back. No.
We say, that's our slogan. This is our slogan. We say, together we'll do better. Mr. Levy, why we say together we do better? We want to close the gap between Europe and America.
Look at all the polls among non-Americans, even in Europe. The reputation and respect of the United States is at an almost all-time low, and I regret that very much.
I would think it is almost certain that most Americans have a friendlier feeling toward most of Europe, with perhaps the exception of France these days, but over time have a friendlier feeling toward most of Europe than most of Europe has toward us.
Thank God there are still some enlightened, bright young leaders who realize that America is our best friend.
Well, I like this very much.
Yeah? I think he's courageous, and he stands for his cause. And in the fight against terrorism worldwide, we cannot do without the help of our American friends.
Yes. So we should fight terrorism, and instead of criticizing the United States, it would be better to look at what we could learn from them instead of only criticizing them.
Together,
of course,
we can do better.
Together.
And let us not forget the man, who, in these days of darkness and tensions between Europe and the U.S., is leading us to the end of the rainbow and beyond.
Moet je kijken waar hij ons heeft gebracht. Hoe bedoel je ons? Nederland, we staan weer op de kaart. We bestaan weer.
De president is iemand die zich met hart en ziel inzet voor bijvoorbeeld de strijd tegen het terrorisme. Zet zich in voor vrijheid. En dat heeft Amerika ook in het verleden steeds bewezen. Als het ging om het voormalige Joegoslavië, of Afghanistan of Irak, steeds bij dat soort zaken heeft Amerika aangegeven te willen vechten voor vrijheid. En dat is met deze president niet anders.
Misschien is Balkenende wel een ziener, wel een visionair, een profeet. Die Nederland de internationale politieke arena inleidt. Iran veroveren, Nederland staat voorop. Syrië veroveren, Nederland staat voorop. Bevrijden, bevrijden. Een nieuwe doctrine. Amerika gaat, Nederland volgt. Daar zijn wij een deel van. Ja, ja.
Okay, I make like this and then...
Yeah, that's very good.
Oh.
And you know, it's very important. That's our slogan. Together we will do better. You know,
I have a son coming up in a week or two.
Really?
Wow.
Okay, then take this for him.
Yes, yes.
Or maybe this one.
Something for him to spit on, you know.
What will be your choice?
I get a t-shirt, Bush.
Oh, I like it.
Yes, yes.
I like it very much.
Look at this. You're going to make me look like a fool, aren't you?
No, it's great.
Okay, okay.
You have to pay Mr. Sadeghi.
Yeah, the levers, yes. Stickers, sir. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Oh, great. 10 euros will be okay. Thank you very much. Hello. 4 more years. Naar Syrië. Ja. En gewoon binnen een jaar zo Congo bevrijd. Gewoon Nederlanders in Congo.
Fantastisch.
Samen met Bush.
Fantastisch, zou ik zeggen. Kom maar.
Het is afschuwelijk om te realiseren, maar over een tijdje moeten wij misschien gewoon in groene pakjes staan in plaats van de cowboyhoeden.
Groen van het
Balkenende.
CDA. Ja.
Visionair.